Good morning, everybody. This is Sean K116, and tonight or morning, I just had a few ideas for a skinning system for our vehicles. It was the simplest way I could think of. And yes, at 4 o'clock in the morning as an insomniac, this is things you do to pass the time. So, just like the custom pipe creator, we'd have kind of like a grid, and these grid would be the 4 points per each cube. And these are our skin points, okay? So, just like the pipe creator, you would select your first point, and that would turn it blue. Now, what that would do is now we would, in Microsoft Paint, we're going to use this, but for the sake of purposes, it'll be the same. You would then go and you would select this point, then down to this point, and then over to this point, and that would create your square. So now we've got that little bit of panel uh, skinned. Now, the next issue that I see is what about this, right? So if we took this yellow dot and we were like, alright, I want to skin this. You now have this curve that's being cut off. Now, how do I suggest overcoming that? Well, a secondary skin tool which allows you to set distances per the pipe. So you would select the piece, that individual piece, and then you would go into the secondary skin tool and you could set the distance that you are wanting. So you could have short distances for areas where you don't need a perfect curve because maybe it's going to be hidden under another layer or it's just not going to be seen because it's on the bottom. But for like this, you're going to easily see it, so you want it to look smoother. So you would make the distance for the skin points closer together, right? And what that allows you to do is then now you would take that skin tool, you'd select your point. Oh, let me change the color up. There we go. So you would check your point, and then you would select the points as you go around. And then now we have a nice curved skin. Okay? So now that you got that, it would come, I messed it up. I'm sorry. We'd go from this point to this one, and then you'd connect it as you came down. So now we have this part selected, and then we come down. I hate Microsoft Paint sometimes. There. Click out of it. So now we're gonna select the next square, and the next square, and the next square. Ta-da! And then last, you'd do the same thing. You'd have your yellow dots down here. And so you would now have those being used as well. And I know this is very rough. It's bumpy and it's ugly, but it's simple. So now this area, as you can see here, because of the outer block, it would be filled in. So we'll just do this. So you can pretend. So now you got that skinned. Now that's fine. I mean, it's a flat area, easy enough to skin. So we're going to look at this picture from a slightly different angle and look at it again. Okay, so what we see here is the area we just worked on was this right here. Can't really use this tool to show it, but it works. Alright, so how do we overcome that this is sticking out? Well, the skin tool would be smart. Um, you would have two modes under it. flat skinning and then three-dimensional. So what this would do is we'd select our first primary point once again, which will be up here in the same spot. And if it wants to cooperate, there we go. And then we would once again have the pipe, and then that would connect down to this one, and then down we go to this point right here. Alright, simple enough, right? And then once again, your pipe would have things that you would follow, and that will lead down to here. Once again, it's ugly, I know, I apologize. And then we just keep selecting the points all the way down. Yes, it does not connect, I'm sorry. And then up here. Now, the thing to note here, because they are three-dimensional, is that you'd want to make sure you select the outer face, which is on this side, not over here. Because then the skin would wrap around the cube to this side, whereas we're wanting to keep it flush on the outside, aka skin. So now that we've done that, we're at this point with this curve. So we're following yellow lines down to this blue dot, and now we've got that curved. And then we continue to work our way down to there, and then the last final bit for this curve right here. Ugly, but it works. Yes, my jokes are hilarious at this time of the morning, but that's alright. So now as you can see, we've got this all selected, and the skin autofills. Now what I can't really demonstrate, but what it would do is it would curve out to follow the curve. And there we go. And then it'd still be curving out. A little bit less curving out. And then finally down here it'd be flat. Like I said, I can't really show what I'm trying to say, but I hope that helps. So that way, instead of it just being like on this picture, where it's perfectly flat, it now starts with the bow and slowly fades into a flat. And what that would be like would be on the fenders of sports cars, where it's nice and round and it slowly comes from the curve to the flat area. And that would be my fix for curved areas. It would just auto skin and fill in that in. So yeah, that is something I was thinking about. I know this is very rudimentary, and I'm sorry for that. I just, it popped in my head while I was sitting there working on a vehicle in the game, and this was my thought when I starting to sit and think about it. I was like, how would it work? How could you make it work? And this was the system I came up with. Now, the actual coding and stuff, I have no idea how that would happen. I would leave that up to the devs. This is just me throwing out ideas. I'm sure they have their own ideas for skinning, and it never hurts to have more ideas in the pot, because if one doesn't work, you can try the next and try the next until you get it, working well. And I understand right now it's only a pre-alpha, so there's plenty of time, and I'm sure they could take this and turn it into a excellent program for skinning. Who knows? Like I said, I'm sure they have their own, but I was bored, 4:30 in the morning, so yeah. Anyways, I hope that maybe this helped.